Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers.
All right, Brewer fans, welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast with Craig and Vince. How are you doing, Vince?
I'm doing great, Craig. How are you?
Good. So we got some spring trainings in full effect here, and we've got some news to report. Some brewer movement here, finally, as we hurtle toward the start of the season. Very exciting times. So let's start off by, I guess, the biggest signing here so far of the spring training and possibly the off season even. But and that's we've signed um, left-handed pitcher Jose Quintana. Last year he pitched for the Mets. In fact, he even pitched against us in the playoffs. Yeah, got him on a really good deal. I think it was a 1 year, 4.5 or 5 million, something like that in that range. So I think other people in the baseball world are a little shocked that he got that low of a contract offer even for the 1 year. So again, the Brewers waiting around for the bargain bin. It seemed like it really paid off this time. Unfortunately, that coincides with DL Hall being put on the 60-day IL, and also, unfortunately, Aaron Ashby strained his oblique and is going to be shut down from pitching for at least 2 weeks, is the latest news. He most likely, won't be of any help in the rotation in the first month or two of the season, looking like, or even the bullpen for that matter. But I think he was probably a favorite for the fifth before the signing for the fifth starting spot with Hall on the IL and Woodruff not ready to go yet. But now I think he's really compromised himself and probably when he comes back would probably be regulated to the bullpen for the rest of the year. But we'll see. But what are your thoughts on the Quintana signing?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked about it for what we gave up, which is, a relatively modest amount of money, relatively speaking. So no, I'm all for it. He's still, Quintana is, as every Brewers fan, I'm sure knows and remembers, seems to kill us every year. So I think I texted you this the day that it happened, or we certainly talked about it in our pre-production meeting, but I would sign Jose Quintana just so he doesn't face the Brewers. It seems like he kills us every year. Didn't matter which uniform he was wearing. He did it with the Cubs. He did it with the Cardinals. He did it with the Pirates. He did it with the Mets last season. So we're going to be his eighth team once he makes his appearance with Milwaukee, and I'm glad he's with us this year. I'm pretty excited. I think that, as we talked about, I think most recently on our last episode, there are so many injuries that take place through the course of a 162 game baseball season, and to have somebody of Quintana's veteran status already helping to replace, like you pointed out, the two lefties that were competing for that fifth spot in the rotation, who've already been injured and are going to be out at best 2 weeks. In Ashby's case, I think that this was a big signing for our depth. So I'm very excited for it. I'm all for it. It was a good signing by the Brewers, and hey, glad to see that we are finally, at least being a little bit active and, patching up some holes that we're starting to see already on our team through injuries.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that analysis, Vince. And our depth without the signing, our depth would have been taking a huge hit. And I know that Ashby got hurt like a couple hours after we signed him, so they weren't necessarily related, I don't believe. So, but again, the Brewers front office, it just seems like they can do no wrong on some of the moves they make, and even the ones that seem questionable. I know a year or so ago we were a little bit miffed on the fact that they were just willing to jettison some of their rotation depth, and now even going into this season, we decided not to offer Colin Ray arbitration. I do believe he would have got around what we're paying Quintana, and I feel Quintana is quite a bit of an upgrade over Colin Ray. No offense to him, but with experience, major league experience alone, so it's nice to bring in a veteran with not playoff experience with several teams and obviously a long track record of success. And on top of that, he's a lefty. So, I mean, we're really pretty excited to have him in the fold, basically, as we head into the season. And I would have been very concerned had that sign not happen with our overall rotation depth. But once guys get healthy, our depth will even be all that much better, and might even give us some options to trade someone, at some point during the season if everyone does get healthy, because we'll have plenty of options. And then that's not even counting a lot of the young guys. Now, when I'm saying the younger guys, I'm talking about the prospects, but obviously I don't consider Ashby or Hall prospects anymore. They've got a major league track record, but I mean, they're both going into the season injured. So again, I've learned my lesson to not count on basically anything out of those guys. Anything that we get out of those guys this season is going to be basically gravy, unfortunately. However, if we have to dive into more rotation depth, we've got a lot of nice guys at AAA. So far in the spring training, Logan Henderson has been really impressive, actually. And obviously, Jacob Mizorowski is showing some control issues, but in exciting news, I think if you're a Brewer fan, the Brewers so far have been granting his request to want to stay as a starting pitcher, and and so far he's looked all right. Just last night he pitched 3 innings, struck out 3 batters, didn't walk anyone, and I think he's going to find his groove here. He'll probably start the year at AAA, but if he can, I mean, his ceiling is still super high. Number one or two, number two starter if he can stay in that role. Again, the major fallback plan would be to move him to the bullpen at some point, and then you've got basically a high leverage bullpen arm almost for sure. So again, he's a valuable player in our organization, whichever way you slice it. But I'm really excited the fact that so far it looks like they're going to try to have him start.
Yeah, the no walks is the biggest key for him. As people who follow our minor league system, like our minor league expert Brandon, are aware. Jacob's biggest issue is the control. He walks too many guys, and once he harnesses that, you've got this power lefty arm that's able to strike out double the batters that he walks. That's pretty exciting. I think that his stuff is, as far as pure stuff goes, the best that we have in our system right now, and it's pretty exciting to see him work with the Brewers major league coaches throughout the spring here in his first big league camp to try to hone in on some of the control issues that he's experienced in the earlier parts of his career.
Absolutely. And I should also not fail to mention that Carlos Rodriguez, who also got his feet wet at the major league level last year and has been putting up pretty good minor league numbers over the last couple of years, will also be kind of waiting in the wings at AAA, most likely to begin this season. And again, more depth. Really, really nice to see as the Brewers come into the season. Now let's flipping over to the hitter side of the equation here as we build our roster for the 2025 season, still kind of in progress. Another signing that happened since our last podcast was bringing back old friend Mark Hanna, also on a 1 year, very cheap deal. I know you.
Yeah, you don't like Canna. What's the deal? Do you think this is geared towards you, Craig? I know that you're not a big Canna fan.
In this particular role here, it's fine. I don't think he's going to be selling at bats from anyone else deserving. Now, so, the bottom line is it's just like one of those type of, I hate to say he's like the most vanilla player in the league. But there's just, he is what he is, and that's great. He's a veteran bat. He's had some experience starting. He has a really nice piece off the bench because he can cover multiple positions. He can play both corner outfield positions. He can play first base and a lefty bat. You always like to have that on the bench. So, I mean, the bottom line is he'd pair real nicely and some nice depth in case of injury and everything, especially I think since our last podcast, Blake Perkins has also been injured and is going to be out for an extended period of time to begin the season too. So again, we're very fortunate. Not every Major League Baseball team's roster has multiple guys that can, basically start in center field. But even with the loss of Blake Perkins, who's an excellent center fielder, obviously, we still have Garrett Mitchell with experience there, who would probably be our starting center fielder, and also Gold Glove right fielder Sal Frelick can also play center field on pinch. So again, nice luxury, and again, kudos all the way back to the front office for building the type of roster that has the flexibility and depth that the Brewers have to cover for injuries, because obviously they pop up all the time. And I think Mark Hanna, as much as this stems from a text being sent to me by Vince, excitingly with I think 3 exclamation marks with Mark Hanna.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me was maybe 2.5, possibly 3 too many exclamation marks for Mark Hanna. But
I was trying to do the impression of our colleague Chad Collins, who used to put it like 20 exclamation points over the most minute of news, and so yeah, I since copied and emulated that style with you, particularly for Mark Hanna. That's why.
Yeah, no, again, with things being said, I think he's a nice addition. Veteran bat to this lineup, especially for a team that's looking to compete this year. And unfortunately, we'll see how everything shakes out. Now I know one little piece of, I shouldn't even call it inside information, but our
Is
anonymous
this from Tom
source.
Carter, our anonymous source?
Um, okay. The information I have, we won't say where we got it, is that Pat Murphy. There was some question on who's going to hit leadoff. Everyone's like, okay, well, Jackson Trio is how good of a second half he had last year, and with our loss of Willie Damas in the middle of our cleanup here, we're going to have to kind of move Jackson Trio kind of further down the lineup, maybe more toward the middle, or at least number two hitter, and maybe identify a new leadoff hitter with Bryce Trang, maybe in one of those candidates, maybe Caleb Durbin, maybe whoever. But the bottom line is even Sal Frelick, I think, would be a nice leadoff hitter, and he's having a really nice spring. I'm super excited about Sal Frelick this year. Um, but I
Yeah,
digress.
me too.
The inside information is that Pat Murphy plans on hitting, and he's in for sure solidify what order, but I think we all know his top three hitters in his lineup opening day or going into the season basically will be Jackson Churio, Christian Yelich, and William Contreras, who he considers our three best hitters. Pretty much no brainer there. And his philosophy is he wants to get those guys as many bats as possible. He likes to have them at the top of the lineup. So makes sense.
Yep.
The analytics show that that's a correct way to build a lineup. Not everyone agrees necessarily. What it does leave is most likely, I think Garrett Mitchell is a possible cleanup hitter who's not the typical profile of a cleanup hitter. In fact, he's probably more toward a profile of a leadoff hitter than a cleanup hitter, but he does have power. I'm excited for him this year if he can stay healthy. And then you probably got Reese Hoskins batting in the the 5 hole behind him. And then you probably can go right, left, all the way up and down the lineup. But some of our things have kind of shaken out in spring training. Again, we were kind of like, who's going to be our starting third baseman? Candidates obviously were Tyler Black, who's been injured, unfortunately, Oliver Dunn, who's having a heck of a spring, and Caleb Durbin, who has started off really slowly, but has kind of turned it on here in the last week or so. I don't know. I guess my guess is how it would play out. Well, I guess what is your take on what's the state of the infield and what you are predicting will happen?
Well, I actually wanted to go back to the Mark Canha signing really quick because I was
Yeah.
kind of looking over some of his stats. Scotty's interns gave me some of his stats and looking at the numbers a little bit. I was really struck by a couple of things. Mark Canha is a 10-year big league vet, and in 6 of those seasons, including the 2020 shortened season, he had double-digit home run totals, and that kind of sticks out to me a little bit. It's kind of exciting when you can get a bat like that for that cheap, who does have that power off the bench. It's one of the things, and you can literally go back to, many of our episodes going back to 2004. One of the biggest things I look for in roster construction is power from the bench, because I think that you really need that. And I'm really, so that's one of the things that makes me most excited about the Canha signing. I think it's great that he's not going to be starting, and that we've got, guys who are going to be playing every day out of him. But I really love having that option late in games as a power threat off the bench. So I just wanted to get back to that really quick. I agree with Pat Murphy's take on the lineup. He's the National League Manager of the Year for a reason. I'm excited to see what Jackson Churio can do in the leadoff spot. I'll be really interested to see where Bryce Trang fits into this lineup, and I have some thoughts on that. I think you might disagree with me on this. I think that batting him ninth is actually the best place for him at this point. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Trang and where he fits in this lineup?
I'm the way that I think he will go in the bottom third of the lineup. Exactly what slot, I'm not sure, but I do think that he will have a righty in front of him and behind him most likely. But number 9 does make sense.
I just love that double-digit speed. I love that speed option that you've got with both Trang and Churio back to back. Obviously not to start the game, but as the game progresses, I really like that setup.
Yeah, no, I do think it makes sense. So, yeah, I think having him when the lineup flips like that, basically, yeah, he'll be hitting. And not only that, but you want to have a really good hitter in front of Jackson Trio, because outside of that first time up, usually, especially again, in my mind, he's already a burgeoning superstar, and therefore the pitchers are going to not want to have to pitch to him with guys on base. So Bryce Trang is hitting in front of him. they're like, okay, well, we're not going to walk this guy. Not only can he steal bases like nobody's business, but we have Jackson Trio coming up behind him. We're going to give him something good to hit. So I think that would really benefit Bryce Trang and his average this
Yeah.
year. And so I do agree with you that it's probably a great spot for him, especially knowing now that Jackson Trio, who Pat Murphy affectionately calls Jack Jack, by the way, um, is um, yeah, he's I think that's a perfect spot for him. Absolutely. If he's not leading off. Absolutely.
Well, just look at that speed. Churio had what 22 stolen bases, I think, at the end of last season. I will see if the interns can give me some better information, but Turang had 50 stolen bases last year. That's wild. I mean, that he hit 254, he had a 316 OBP, and he still stole 50 bases. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
So I really love that back-to-back speed where you've got double-digit stolen base totals, both ninth and first in the lineup. I think that's really exciting at back-to-back, especially later in a game.
Yeah. No, so as far as what do you think the plan is then for well, not only just third base, but for short and second too, I guess.
Oops, sorry, Greg. I
Oh,
muted
sorry.
myself
I mean,
accidentally.
what do you think? Well, I guess let's. It looks to me that, in spite of some possible speculation, that Trang will most likely stay.
Turang's gonna be at second base.
Trang would stay at second, like you predicted, and it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. And also that Ortiz will probably be our shortstop. So that leaves
Yep.
third base. I really believe that we're going to go in with a kind of a soft platoon of Oliver Dunn and Caleb Durbin at third. Um, and
I just think that, as we've discussed, I think that Durbin's best role on this team is as a utility guy, and I know that it would be a soft platoon most likely if he were to get a lot of at bats at third base, and that's fine. But I really view him as being a guy that is so valuable because he can play second and play shortstop and play outfield and play third base. So I really don't want to pigeonhole him into one position. I agree with keeping Turang at second base. It's not that he couldn't play shortstop. It's just, first of all, you want him to continue to progress offensively. You don't need him to have to relearn a position. I know he can still play shortstop. I know defensively he was an outstanding shortstop in the minor leagues. I don't think it would take much, but I also think let's have him continue to improve his offense this year while remaining comfortable at a position that he was literally the best defender in baseball at last season. I just don't know why you'd want to change that up.
yeah, so I'm of the belief that Oliver Dunn has made this team already, and therefore probably get the majority of the bats as a third baseman. Um, so you're probably right where Durbin will only start once or twice a week, if that. If indeed he's just going to be a utility guy, we'll see how it plays out. The other star of the spring so far has been Vinny Capra, who is out of options. So I really believe that he's got a really good shot at making this team as well. And I will say that I didn't make a mistake. Mark Hanna is right-handed bat. I knew that. So I mentioned.
You're right. Yeah.
So unfortunately, what that kind of means is we if Dunn is in the starting lineup, we have no lefties on the bench unless Tyler Black stays up. Um, so it seems like Tyler Black should be getting every day at bats. So we'll see how this plays
I think
out.
that Tyler Black can still play third base, Craig. I know we disagree on this a little bit. Oliver Dunn put up great spring training numbers last year, if you remember, too. I don't put any stock whatsoever in spring training numbers. If you look back at our 2011 spring training leader was Eric Almonte. I mean, these guys are not really playing for keeps at this point. They're facing subpar pitching. The pitchers are, could be guys who spend their season in Double-A, if that. So
I don't disagree with you, but I mean, do you think that then Vinny Capra should not make the team based off his spring?
I'm not saying he should make the team. I just think, first of all, let me just say, I think that the injury timing to Tyler Black was not fortuitous for him because, I think the Brewers did want to get a good look at him at a couple different positions, including third base this spring training, which obviously has now been delayed a bit because of his injuries. And I could see him starting the year on the disabled list at this point, just because they do want to probably get him some time to fully recover rather than throw him into a situation. I'm not saying Vinny Capra shouldn't make the team. I guess I'm just looking at kind of his past track record, and he's a guy who a number of organizations have given up on. I'm not saying he's not a valuable piece, but I don't know that he's going to be your, starting third baseman anytime soon too. I guess my concern with him is that, again, we don't have a lefty off the bench, and I, Capper Bats righty. I know he can play multiple positions, but I feel like we're a little bit limited right now in some of our offensive, our left-handed power off the bench. So that's my concern.
And now since Black has been back, and I think he's played a couple of games, spring training, the Brewers have only had him at first so far. So you think
Right.
if they have some plans to get him as an everyday third baseman or even in a platoon situation, they'd start getting him third base starts ASAP. So we'll see if that happens or not. But for some reason, because like you said, it's very, no injuries ever at a good time, but especially for Black here, I think that because of that delay of a couple of weeks of spring training, most likely the Brewers would want him to, kind of start off at AAA because he does have options, and then get his, get everyday at bats until it makes sense to put him somewhere in the lineup. And if another player like Vinny gets a couple of weeks in the majors before swapping him back out, that I think that's fine. But we do want to start the season with our best third base option. I don't know. Maybe he's not on the team yet. Maybe it's one of those things where we'll get a late season or late spring training trade or something like that, or a
you never
signing.
know. That could be true.
You never know. So I guess we'll keep things open. But like I said, overall, it's been exciting to see some of the new guys at spring training, and even some of the guys that are finally healthy, like seeing Garrett Mitchell. He just seems like he's ready for a breakout. And really, all it's going to take is for him to stay healthy. Knock on wood. So,
I agree.
Like I said,
I'm excited about Frelick too, but Garrett Mitchell is I'm really excited about him this season. It's a great year for these guys who kind of all came up together in 2022, 2023. These guys are now kind of reaching their prime, I think.
Yeah. So I know I'm excited. Obviously, there's been some news that Sal Frelick has bulked up a little bit. So I know he only had I think less than 5 home runs last year at the major league level. I honestly think if he has everyday at bats with being a Gold Glover now, I feel like he's going to have that, not necessarily being a platoon, especially with Perkins out here at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to get everyday at bats at least the first couple months of years, and he's going to take that opportunity and run with it. I am going to say that I think Sal Frelick is going to hit in I don't want to say over under of 15 home runs, but in the range of 15 home runs. If you told me the over under on home runs for Sal Frelick this year was 12, I'm taking the over. How about you?
Oof. Dang. I'd still take the under, but I'm okay with him hitting 10 home runs, and I'd be pretty happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
He hit 2 last year? 3?
I think. So yeah.
Power. Yeah, power isn't like a huge part of his game to me. He brings so many other things at the table. That's not something I look for from him, but it'd be great if he could. I mean, boy, if we get double-digit home runs out of Sal Frelick, we're going to make up some of that power that we're losing with Willie, at least. That would be exciting.
Barring injury, you can book double-digit home runs from Sal Frelick. That's my personal guarantee. We'll see. But all right. Well, yeah.
Wow. That's a big guarantee, Craig. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but anyway, anything else you want to get to here on this episode? We're hopefully next week, hopefully at some point here, as spring training motors on it, we're going to do our top 30 future Brewers prospects like we do annually. And kind of exciting personal news. I'm planning on going down to check out the Brewers spring breakout game. If Vince can join me, that'd be awesome. But yeah, so hopefully I can have some firsthand reports on some of these Brewer prospects that will be part of this top 30 for future Brewers, as we do, in my opinion, have a top 5 farm system all baseball, in spite of also having a great contending team at the major league level too. So it's an exciting time to be a Brewer fan. Absolutely.
Did you get our press passes confirmed for spring training?
Those are still pending, but yes, I'm hoping.
Okay.
We'll see what we can do. So,
okay.
All right. Well, yeah. Lots of exciting stuff happening in spring training. If you have the opportunity to go on down to Phoenix, to the Maryville, and check out the fields on there, it's awesome. There's some tributes to all-time Brewer greats, including, of course, a Bob Uecker tribute down there. So yeah, definitely go down and check it out if you're able. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
give us a follow, Brewer fans. Give us a follow, Brew Review 1 on Twitter/X. Send any email questions to our co-host Scott Bartell at brewreviewpodcasts with an S at gmail.com, and continue to follow us on other social media platforms as well. I think we've still got a Facebook page. So we will certainly be responsive if you interact with us, especially on Twitter.
And the Brewers, it's now less than 3 weeks away till the Brewers open this season. I think at Yankee Stadium before a quick 3-game series before they come home for their home opener on Monday, March 31st. And we're hoping to see Vince at that game as well. So hopefully myself.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Awesome. So, and hopefully we see you there too, Brewer fans. And we appreciate you listening, and stay classy and go Brewers.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Craigers. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Vikram. Go Brewers. Do, 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 do.